Good evening. It's an honor to be here before you tonight to share with you the state of our city. But before we begin, let me introduce your La Marque City Council. To my left, we have Councilmember District C, Mr. Michael Carlson. We also have Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember District B, Mr. Joe Compion, as well as Councilmember of District A, Mrs. Kimberly Yancey. Councilmember Casey McCall of District D is unable to be with us tonight, but she certainly sends her well wishes. Tonight I'm here to speak to you and to update you on the state of our city. One of the things that we begin to understand is that we have to communicate in as many ways and on as many platforms as possible so that our community can know everything about our municipal government. And so tonight I have news for you. I'd like to share with you that the state of our city, the state of the City of La Marque, is one of resilience. We are a resilient city. And Webster defines resilience as able to withstand or recover quickly from difficult conditions. And friends, in the City of La Marque, that's exactly what we have done over this past year. We have been able to recover quickly from the most difficult of conditions. And we find ourselves thrust into a great time of opportunity. Remember, friends, it was July 2nd of 2021 that 6 of our directors, including our city manager, departed our city abruptly. And that brought many concerns from our community, and many questions were asked of our community. Certainly we found since that there was an attempt, a deliberate attempt to undermine our city government, but we also found in that adversity that our city was a resilient city. Because 8 short months later, we have replaced every member of those positions with the exception of 2 assistant city managers that were no longer part of our staff moving forward. But we've replaced even their responsibilities with capable people moving forward. We have capable people in our fire department, in our police department, the capable people in our developmental services department, capable people working as our city attorney, and we have Randall Aragon, who has been brought back as our police chief, who is more than capable. And Chief, we want to thank you for all you have done for our city, being not only our police chief during this difficult time, but being our interim city manager as well. Thank you, Chief, for all that you've done for us. Those positions have been filled. In fact, on last Thursday, this council, with a unanimous vote, Councilmember Carlson abstaining, named Cesar Garcia as our new city manager. And Mr. Garcia is a resident of La Marque, and Mr. Garcia is an innovator. And we look forward to getting to know Mr. Garcia and working with Mr. Garcia as we move our city forward. But as I said before, friends, our city has been a resilient city this past year. And you can look no further than the Public Works Department, a department that has been plagued by staff members that have left because of lower pay, the lack of training, and the lack of developmental support. But friends, here we are today, and now we have a revamped Public Works Department. We have a new Public Works Director by the name of Rick Seiler, who came to us a few short months ago. We have a renewed energy in our Public Works Department. We have purchased equipment for our Public Works, grade alls, and we've replaced bucket trucks and combination pressure vacuum trucks. All of these brand new upgrades to our Public Works Department that will not only instill pride in our department, but will make sure that the work of our Public Works Department is done effectively, to make sure that our streets are maintained, our ditches are cleared and cleaned, our easements are maintained, as well as the other areas of infrastructure in our city. We've also, as a council, added 4 new positions in our Public Works Department with the sole responsibility of making sure that our drainage is cleared and clean. Those ditches in front of our homes are clean and cleared, making sure our easements are also cleared, as well as our city right-of-ways. We are serious about making sure our infrastructure improvements go forward in a way that will be impactful for our community. We know in our Public Works Department that there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, but we also realize that this past year, our Public Works Department has completed Westwood Circle drainage projects. They've also replaced over 5,000 feet of sewer line. They've also joined forces together to make sure that they have moved our city forward in ways that we know nothing about. Many days of hard work, many days of standing in 100-degree weather and doing the work necessary to make sure that we have drainage or water or sewer or streets or signage and many, many other areas that go unnoticed by many of our residents. I'm proud of our Public Works Department, and I realize that they are doing a tremendous job, especially and in particular under the limited circumstances that they have before them. This year, our Public Works Department will realize and witness, as will all of us, the $3.73 million worth of street repairs that has been promised to us through our 2017 county bond election. It will happen this year, and friends, I am excited about it, knowing that we will have safer streets, knowing that we will be able to ride down streets that have been maintained and repaired and replaced even through the 2017 bond election. Let's look forward to that. This year also, we will hopefully complete the drainage work on Mary and Melody Lane. The only thing that's stopping this project, this $1.2 million project, is studies, inspections that we await from state and federal agencies. But when we move forward with that project, it will make tremendous impact in the Mary and Melody Lane areas, for those folks in our community have suffered long and hard with drainage issues in that part of our community. Speaking of being resilient, our fire department suffered a tremendous loss on this past year as well. We've suffered the ultimate loss, a loss of one of our own. Engineer Jesse Terubiati lost his battle with this deadly COVID virus. And the fire department also suffered losses in personnel, as many of our personnel left for higher paying jobs, as many of our personnel left for different situations within different fire departments. And we clearly understand that there was a point in time where our fire department suffered adversity, breakdowns in equipment, issues with our fire station, and issues with the training of our personnel. But our fire department is resilient. And they've been working this past year with the Texas Commission on Fire Protection to make sure that they scored 97 out of 100 on their regular annual evaluation. And this is the highest score that our fire department has ever received in the history of our fire department. We also realized that our fire department realized the first ever zero deficiency audit in its TCOL audit. And TCOL meaning Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, an entity that regulates our fire marshals and our fire investigators. And they received a zero deficiency. Again, the highest level score that they've ever received in their history. But not only that, we've also realized that on February 1st, 2022, our city has received an ISO rating adjustment where we have decreased from a 3 to a 2. And what that does for us, friends, is it allows us to have tremendous savings on our homeowners insurance, savings that could possibly cover even those tax increases or those increases in tax revenue that has been imposed upon our citizens. And so while we are battling the idea on whether or not we want to make the commitment to a better and brighter future, in this tax rollback election, we also have to allow you to understand that in our homeowners' premiums, we will see, many of us, a significant decrease. And that decrease may be more than the potential increase that we face in a tax rollback election. And that's important because we realize that the City of La Marque and our fire department are moving forward in a way that will not only be beneficial to our overall health and safety, but in a way that will be beneficial to our pocketbooks as well. But they didn't stop there. This fire department, this resilient department in our city, they also created partnerships with the Safer Kids of Greater Houston to provide for a safety seat check program. And so now we can go to our local fire station and they will check our safety seats for our most precious cargo, the children that we hold so near and dear to our heart. They also partnered with the Insurance Council of Texas to provide for a smoke detector installation program for many of the seniors in our community. And basic things like providing smoke detectors for seniors in our community goes a long way, not only for the health and safety of those seniors in question, but for the goodwill that's spread in our community from the great fire department that we have. Also, the council has worked with the fire department to upgrade 2 of our ambulances with new chassis. And chassis are the engines, if you will, that carry the ambulances, the motors that carry the ambulances throughout our community. And so with that, we'll have a fleet upgrade to 4. We'll have 4 ambulances now, 2 ambulances on the front lines and 2 ambulances in reserve, again, to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to make sure our fire department has what they need to service our community. But friends, also in our Economic Development Corporation, there has been adversity. They've been suffering. COVID-19 has caused tremendous amounts of damage and business closings in our city, project delays in our city, and a severe loss of jobs within our city. But I am proud of our Economic Development Corporation because they're resilient as well. They saw Amazon open in October of 2021 to provide for us 550 jobs. They've been feverishly working with the dog track to get a developer that would develop the dog track and bring much needed amenities to our community. We need a grocery store. We need other amenities. We need hotels. We need restaurants. We need things that many cities take for granted. In La Marque, we need those things, and we have prime locations for those amenities. And the Economic Development Corporation has been working hard to make sure that those amenities are brought to our city. And despite having all of the road work on I-45, we still realized as an Economic Development Corporation and as a city, a 7% increase in our sales tax. And that goes a long way to say that La Marque is open for business, and La Marque is a business-friendly community that's willing to work with any and every entrepreneur that wishes to do business in our city. Our Economic Development Corporation is here for you, and they're here for our small businesses. They've worked with small businesses in our community, such as Evelyn's Alterations and Choice Analytical. And they've been the catalyst behind this new concept that we like to call Market on 3, which is our city's rendition of a farmer's market. But friends, we are also the second fastest growing city in our county. And that means over the past year, we've issued 223 permits for new home construction. We've issued over the past year 56 permits for remodel or for new commercial construction. That means this year that we have issued, that we've allowed or we have witnessed the cleanup of 82 sites for illegal dumping. This year we have issued 318 junk vehicle permits, 557 liens, and we are maintaining 86 overgrown lots in our community. Not only are we a growing community, but we're also a community that is learning how to keep our community clean. And since 2015, we have demolished 175 homes, making way for new homes to be built on those properties, making way for new families to come into our community, making way for a stronger, better, more vibrant community. Even in our finance department this year, we've suffered some adversity. This past year, a routine audit, an annual audit, and our audits are annual. We discovered that we did not use the best practices in the formula for making sure that we bill water service appropriately. When we bill water service, there's a formula that's used to come up with the rate that you would pay. And we found that we were not using the best practices in that formula. And so what we did was we quickly adjusted and we adopted those best practices to make sure that we are billing our water service in the same way that cities around us and cities throughout our state are billing their water services. And we've also adjusted the water bill for all of those members in our community that were affected by us not using the best practices. And over the course of the entire ordeal, we were able to credit $10 to every account that has water service in our community. That means throughout the entire ordeal, there was only an average of $10 of overbilling that happened in our community. And we quickly adjusted that. And today, I believe that those adjustments have went out. And so I believe now we are back where we need to be. But despite that, the finance department has been a department that has been resilient. What they've been able to do is they've rebounded and they've put us in the best position to receive grant funding. But not only to receive the grant funding, but to also award the grant funding according not only to federal law, but according to state law, and also according to best practices. And the monies that we're receiving from grants are $48.9 million of federal money for sewer rehabs. We are going to expand our wastewater treatment plant. Also for water pump upgrades, the pumping system upgrades. I believe there are 21 pumps all across our community that need major upgrades, but also for sewer line replacement and repair. We also are the recipients of $7.5 million for manhole rehabilitation and manhole construction. $1.2 million, as I said before, of grant funding will go to Mary and Melody Lane for their drainage system repairs. $3.7 million from our latest county bond that I mentioned earlier will go for street repairs. $4.3 million of American Rescue Plan monies can be used on infrastructure and capital improvements. And those infrastructure and capital improvements come in the form of equipment and machinery that will help us to repair our potholes in a way that they would stay repaired and that we wouldn't have to continue to address those issues. Those monies can go toward lighting our entire community. Those monies can go toward additional street repair, new signage for the street signs in our community. There are many different areas that we can address with these $4.3 million of American Rescue Plan monies. And this council intends on addressing as many needs that our community has with the dollar amounts that we've been given. We're going to make those dollars stretch as far as they can, and we're going to make sure that you realize in all of what we're doing that we're being efficient, and that we are being frugal, and that we are being particular in everything we do with those monies, because those monies are taxpayer monies as well. And also, Our finance department facilitated a 2% cost of living increase for all of our city employees. Let me say this. This past year has been a challenging one for our council. Our council has been through a lot. There's been all sorts of accusations made against our council. Clearly, those accusations that have been made against our council are unfounded, they are untrue, and they are inappropriate. Clearly, we understand that those accusations that were made against our council through a managerial audit done by Mill Shirley and our city attorney, Gus Knable, we found that these seeds of doubt, these seeds of unethical behavior, and even these allegations of criminality came from within our city manager's office. And we've found that those are some of the same themes that are being used to declare us unethical and unfit for office. But we also found that there was, through this managerial audit, that we had members of our city administration that feared that they would be terminated. And this was a retaliatory effort to undermine and destabilize our government. But we're resilient people. And in the face of adversity, this council decided to open the doors even wider. We decided to pull back the shades, and we have become the most transparent government that this city has ever seen. What have we done? Just last week, we interviewed and debated and discussed in open session the selection of our city manager. Just this past week, we allowed for our staff members and our community members to interview our 4 finalists for city manager. That has never been heard of in the history of our city. This council has allowed for our negotiations with the police association to be broadcast live for our community to see. This council has allowed for the negotiations with our fire union to be broadcast live for our entire city to see. This council has had numerous, individual and collective, numerous town halls. We've attended numerous HOA meetings. We've had numerous street meetings. This council, during the budget workshop, had 5 budget workshops for the world to see. We had 4 tax rate hearings for the world to see. We had 2 budget hearings for the world to see. This council has had, since November, a tour of our police department for our community to witness and decide what we need to do for the facilities of our police department. This council also, on a monthly basis, has open forums on taxation for our community to voice their concerns. We have been the most transparent government this city has ever seen. I, twice a month, address our community via social media. And this council is active even on social media, answering questions, trying to provide help, trying to provide and assist our residents in as many ways as we can. This council is professional. This council is forward-thinking. This council is qualified. This council is transparent. And this council is dead set on making our city the safest city in Texas. Now, what we have to realize is that not everybody will understand what we are doing, and that there might be critics and there might be folks that disagree, and we understand that fully. What we're simply saying is we cannot move forward unless we move forward together. The Bible declares that a house divided against itself cannot stand. And we realize that if we are apart in ways that are detrimental to our community, our entire community suffers. Not just one, and not just 2, but an entire community. And so we move forward, and if we move forward together, council and community, hand in hand, taking each day and each step one at a time. But friends, I want to share with you that the department, in my opinion, that has suffered the most this past year has been the police department. The police department has suffered from leadership, the lack of leadership. They suffered from inadequate facilities and equipment. They suffered from low pay and unrealistic expectations. And those things have taken their toll on our police department. The Winter Storm Uri on last year, over half of our police department contracted COVID in conditions that were subpar, and in fact, conditions that were unacceptable. Many of our veteran officers have left because the morale in our department was dangerously low. And all of these things were happening to our police department, all while one of the most significant upticks of violent crime and gun violence has been occurring not only in the city of La Marque, but has been occurring all across our country as people have become more and more frustrated about the world we live in today. They suffered. And I want to tell you, I'm proud of them. I'm proud of them because although they were suffering, they continued to do everything in their power to make sure that they showed up and they did their duty. Things have not always been right for them, but they made the best out of less than ideal situations. And let me say this to you. The truth of it is that our city ranks above the state in averages in violent crime and property crime. That's true. We are a small town with big city problems. We all understand that. But we also understand this about our community, that the vast majority of the violent crimes committed in our city limits are committed by people that don't live in the city of La Marque, and they're committed on victims that the vast majority don't live in the city of La Marque. Our police department was struggling, buried under over 25 unsolved murders, not because they're not talented or capable, simply because they are outmanned. They're buried under over 300 felonies that have not been adjudicated, not because of the lack of talent or competency, but because of the lack of resources and manpower. Our police department needs our support, and our police department needs support that goes beyond lip service. If we support our police department, if we back the blue, we have to support and back our police department not only with our mouths, but with our actions, and not only with our actions, but with our pocketbooks as well. And this council has done that. This council, knowing that the number one problem in our community, as we campaigned all across our community, many meetings and many conversations, we found that our community wanted two things. We wanted a new city manager. The council didn't say that, the community did. And we wanted to feel safer. And what we've done on this council is we provided for 6 new positions in our police department in an effort to make us safer. And those positions are, finally, a dedicated deputy chief. A dedicated deputy chief that would be able to respond in real time to the problems that are occurring in our community in real time. We also provided them with a detective that would assist with the backlog of cases that, though they try, they are unable to get their arms around because there are so many. We've also provided them with a narcotics detective because we realize that violent crime is tied more times than not to the drug trade. And so we have another narcotics detective that we want to implement to make sure that we are making an impact against the drug traders in our community. 2 street crime officers that will respond in real time to the geographical locations that are plagued with crime, but also to the types of crime that plague our community, as well as a social worker. Because crime isn't simply a one-day event, but many times we found that when we address issues of crime in our community, it's repetitive. And it happens over and over and over, many times to the same neighborhoods and the same addresses. And so we're adding a social worker to try to help prevent crime in those communities by providing resources to those families that struggle. But not only that, that social worker will also make themselves available to ensure that our officers are receiving the help that they need Being a police officer is a hard job. You're risking your life every day, and you don't know when you're going to make it home the next day. So certainly if any of our community members, if any of our staff members need social work or mental health, it would be our police officers. And we welcome back Chief Randall Oregon, who is one of the leaders in our country in community-oriented policing. And we did that because under Chief Oregon's first tenure in our community, we realized that community policing works. We realized the lowest level of crime that our community had seen in decades. Our police department was excited, and they were filled with passion and enthusiasm, and our community felt safe and comfortable with the things that were going on within our police department. We brought Chief Oregon back because we want to make sure that our officers are not only safe and able to do their jobs, but we want to make sure that our community is proud of the job that our police officers are doing. They don't get nearly enough credit, and I want to make sure, so long as I am your mayor, that they're receiving not only the credit, but the resources and the direction that they need to serve us in ways that we know they want to serve us. Also in our police department, we have an entirely new command staff. Chief Oregon is back with us, and there were 4 promotions of 4 new leaders within our department. Leaders that are eager and enthusiastic and ready to serve. Leaders that are innovative. Leaders that are compassionate. Leaders that are authentic and genuine. All here to make sure that our police department is doing everything in their power to serve us, and serve us in a way that we are getting results. And friends, we are getting results. A recent study has revealed that within the last 8 months, our violent crime has went down by 28%. Recent studies show that our property crimes have went down by 19%. And so we are moving in the right direction. Here just recently, Chief Randall Oregon, and he's going to visit with you in a few minutes, he provided for council 5 goals of our Safe City initiative. And those goals are collaborating with our community. He will go into them in more depth. They're collaborating with our community. Those goals are also striving to make our department a recognized department within the Texas law enforcement community. We want to be recognized as the model for law enforcement in our state. There are also goals that will add for personnel that will address issues of gangs in our community, and also training. We want to train our officers in a way that they would be better equipped to serve our community and every nuance in our community, because we have different aspects of our community, and we have to be prepared for every aspect so that we can meet every challenge. And in an effort to recruit some of the best officers around, this council has provided for a $6,000 bonus, if you will, a $6,000 signing bonus for those veteran officers that wish to join us. If you are an officer and you are listening to this, you are more than welcome to come and be a part of the change in the city of La Marque as we move this city through our police department to be the safest city in Texas. But this council has also added 10 new police cars, so that we can make sure that our officers have the equipment necessary to do the job that they need to do. All of this in an effort to make our city the safest city in Texas. I need you to understand that one of the other areas that we ought to be concerned about is our police station. Our police station used to be a bank. It's about a little over 9,000 square feet, and it is in deplorable condition. Our police station has reached its usage years ago, and we have been in desperate need of a police station for years. Our police station, the size of our police force, our police station requires us to have a station that has about 18,000 square feet to 20,000 square feet. Many of our police officers don't have lockers. In fact, all of them don't have lockers. Our evidence room is inadequate. It needs to be increased in size. We don't have places for many of our weapons to be stored in our police department. Our dispatchers, our telecommunicators are in a room stationed by a console monitoring all calls that come into our city, but they don't even have the facilities to go and use the bathroom. And so many times they find themselves trapped in their position without having the ability to even relieve themselves because their work area has no bathroom. Our police department is in need of a major upgrade. As this council did work on ascertaining the value of that, the initial number came in at about $14.7 million. And we realized as a council and we realized as a community that was more than what our residents can afford. So what this council has done is we've committed to develop a public safety committee of residents that would work with our council and work with our architect and work with our police department to provide a common sense public safety building that will be cost effective, but that will also meet the needs of a growing, passionate, and excellent police force. And lastly, I want to just share with you all of the things that we have provided for in this address, the things that council has added as services or amenities, things such as the 4 workers in our public works department that will be assigned with cleaning our drainage ditches and our easements, the grade all machine, the 6 police officers, and many other upgrades. All of these upgrades were realized because this council held our tax rate at 55 cents. We didn't raise our tax rate, we held our tax rate. The Galveston County Central Appraisal District added hundreds of millions of dollars in added value to the tax rolls by simply adding more value to all of our properties. Your home, my home, your commercial building, my commercial building. And in that, the amount of revenue generated increased. And this council listened to you with that increase. And we've invested that increase in things that you hold near and dear to your heart. Everybody in our community wanted to be safe. Everybody wanted the bullets to stop. Everybody wanted the shootings to stop. Everybody wanted the gangs to stop. Everybody wanted drainage to be more efficient. Everybody wanted our sewer system to be upgraded. Everybody wanted upgrades in our community. As it stands, there are many people in our community that are still dissatisfied. And they make their concerns known to us. And I say to each and every one of us, in order for us to be the city that we want to be, we have to make sacrifice. And folks might say, you ought to have the ability to do that within your budget. Friends, let me remind you that La Marque is 19,000 members in population with a $13 million budget. Our friends to the north, Dickinson, is a 21,000 population city with a $20 million budget. We are a $13 million budget with a fully paid fire department. There's 70% of our budget that goes to employee salary. There is nowhere to cut. We have exhausted our ability to cut. And so our council has held at 55 cents the tax rate because we are trying to meet the needs of our community. We want to be safer. We want better drainage. We want better streets. We want a better police department. We want a more responsive fire department. We want a public works department that works for us. How do we get there? The only way we get there is by continuing to make the sacrifice that we've made to better our community. That's the only way it happens. There's a tax rollback election happening in May. If the tax rollback is successful, we will have to have our rate reduced from 55 cents to 47 cents. That's over $1 million in revenue. $1 million in revenue. I just said to you that our budget is $13 million, and the city of Dickinson's budget is $20 million. And somebody said our tax rate is the highest in the county. Perhaps that's true. Our valuations are among the lowest in the county. And so long as you have low valuations, you generate low revenue. And the only way to generate more revenue is to hold tax rates in a way that will allow you to generate revenue. Why, again, as I close, are we generating revenue? We're generating revenue because we listen to you. You want it to be safer. And we've invested in all of our safety. And so what would you do to feel safe? How much would you give to feel safe? $10 a month. Is that worth your safety? Is that worth you going to sleep at night knowing that you have given everything you can to make sure you and your spouse and your children and your grandchildren are safe? This is not about taxation. It never has been. Taxation is not about taxation. Taxation is about service and amenity. It always has been. And when people begin to complain about taxes, what they're complaining about is service. And at the end of the day, we will get better. We will get better. But let's make sure that we are doing our due diligence before we go to the polls and vote. What would you do to feel safer? And for those of us that support our police department, it's time for us to put our money where our mouth is. God bless you. Thank you for listening to me. And God bless the city of La Marque.